welcome back to Code with Clarks. So what we have left, or where we left our project, is we have created in our homepage or index, we have created a top bar. We gave it a prop here to stop scrolling the page, and you can check in the components folder our top bar. We have created a top bar structure right here with some icons and on-click events. And those on-click events control this section right here, which is a main menu, a cart menu, a language where you can change the language of your website, and then a register menu or register form, and the overlays that's going to overlay on the screen when any of this functionality is going to be triggers. We control those functionalities by some states we have created right here, and we have some use effects. So when our states change, we want to stop scrolling the home page, and we can recheck that up, see if the server is still up. If your server isn't, just go ahead and run it up with npx nextdev or npm run dev, and then go to your local host and let's check it up. So we have created this top bar structure, some hovering effects, and as functionalities, we have created this close menu. We can close it from this button, and we can close it from anywhere from the screen when it is up. When the menu is on or any of the functionalities is on, we cannot interact with the other ones until that one closes or ends. You can see that we have created a language menu, a register menu that we're going to populate later. For now, as long as we understand the structure we're following, that's the best thing. So before jumping and creating our main menu or a cart menu, for a cart menu, I think we probably wait until we create some products cards and fix that behavior of get product to cart or see product details. And we're going to have some in our API folder. We're going to use that, be able to emulate a response from an API server until later in the project where we create our own API server that's going to handle our database. For now, only functionalities we're going to be creating, but not in this video. In the next one is the main menu, as we're going to be creating other pages and be able to route to them from our main menu. Until we create some products cards, talk about categories, talk about product names, tags, references, and stuff, we'll be able to populate more our main menu with more beautiful functionalities. For now, let's create a search bar, so we just have a better look of the UI of our page. So for a search bar, let's go to our components and create a new file and call it SearchBar.js. It's up to you. You can call it whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna RFCE in there. We have talked about this snippet. Go get the plugin React Redux native snippets, and you'll be able to run this abbreviation, which gives you a React functional component, and it's exported for you right there. I'm gonna give it that div some indentation just to make the code look better, and then it says search bar in the div. We can try that to see if the import's working well by import it in our home page. Import, just give it the same name, search bar from component search bar, and let's invoke it under our top bar. Later on the project, for people who want to change this home icon and make the inputs look, make the search bar on top like famous websites, for example, the Amazon.com. If you want to get inspired by that, but you don't have to copy it because that'd be infringing of the law. But you can still see the look of how e-commerce behaves. You can see that we have a logo that routes to the home page. We have deliver to the country where I live, Morocco, and you can see a search bar right here with some hovering effect. You can see a language menu right there and some other functionalities. You can see that they have an input on the top bar itself. We can later on show you how to be able to put the search bar itself in the top bar if you like that look of your page. for your page. For now, we have created that search bar. For now, I have only a placeholder div that contains a text inside that says search bar, and we have imported it and invoked it. And you can see it right here that it's being imported and invoked correctly. For now, I can close my home page and go to my search bar.js and start working. So in my search bar, I'll keep it wrapped in this div. For now, let's create a style. Let's just start incrementally and create style at the same time as creating our structure. So I go to the styles, I'll create a new file, and then I'll call that one search bar st for styles. Could be any name for you. The module.css, and then we import that module inside our search bar. Import sp, which is search bar for me, could be anything. st for search bar styles. From where? And it's going to come from styles. The file name is searchbar st.module.css. I have imported that file correctly. Now I can split my window right here, my VS Code window. And in this window right here that I have just opened, I can open my searchbar st module. Now I can collapse my Explorer and I can work at the same time. This div right here, the one that always should be, if you remember, and I'm always keep reminding you about it, always wrap your code with a single element or tag. Should always be wrapped inside something, inside a div, inside an empty fragment, inside a section, a main, a side, article, whatever it is, as long as it wraps all your code that you're gonna have. So for now, that's our container. We call it our container. Let's give it a class name. That class name is gonna come from sbst, which is the class file we have created, and we'll give it a class name of, just to be descriptive, search bar container. Again, semantics, it doesn't matter. Call it whatever you want to call it as long as you remember what you called it and what it is doing. So the search bar container, I'm going to copy that class name. And in my file, just .Control-V brackets. You can do that manually, nothing wrong with it. I just like to use shortcuts a little bit. So in the search bar container class name, for now, I'll give it just a background color. Just to be able to see it, I give it a yellow-green, which is lighter than the top bar green. And I'll give it a padding of something like 0.4 rams. And I'll change its display from a default div. By default is a block element, so I'll change it to a grid. And in that grid, I'll just justify my content to the center and align my content to the center. So fix it on the X and on the Y. Align the content to the center. If I save, you can check. I didn't save my file. I'll save both files. And you can see that my search bar is showing up right there. So for now, it only contains this placeholder. Let's erase it. And inside that div, we want to have a div itself. As you've seen, that code or styling we just did gives me the ability to place anything inside. It should be just one child to be just clean with the code. My content, I have only one content that's gonna wrap. Let's keep that placeholder in there. Search bar. Okay. So whatever is inside my div is gonna be now centered on the X and on the Y. Okay. On the X, it's on the center, and on the Y, it's also on the center, which is what we want. So in that second div we have created, that's supposed to, let's give it a class name, descriptive class name, SPST again. And this time inside the search bar container, we'll say custom search bar or input bar, or whatever you want to call it. And I'll get that class name and get it to my styling file. Control-V and open some brackets, and I'll say into that custom search bar for now, I want that to be have a display of inline flex, and that's it for now. And inside that custom search bar, I'm gonna do a little bit of cheating, copy that div itself, opening and closing tag, don't forget that, Control C, and inside of it I'm gonna paste it 2 times, reformat the code. So just to be able to follow, we have created this search bar container, background color, have a little padding, it is displayed as a grid, and whatever content they have inside of it on the X and Y, it's going to be centered. Okay, so this is what's inside of it, this custom search bar. For now, this custom search bar is an inline flex, so it's going to show my element on the same line, whatever I have in it. Or you can use grid and use columns or use flexbox. That's up to you, personal preference. We'll just use the inline flex. And then inside that custom search bar, which is have a display of inline flex, I have 2 divs. I'll change their class name. The first one, I'll give it input bar, or let's give it, yeah, let's just give it just a descriptive name, input, or input and results. And I'll show you why I did that in a div. So I could have literally just, instead of this first div, put directly in input, but I'm gonna put the input itself inside that div, and we'll understand why we did that. Input, and I'll give it a placeholder as an attribute of search all products, and a type of literally just text. Will not use the search one, and for now that's it. And I'm gonna close that input, that is a self-closing tag. Okay, we have created an input, we have search all products, and let me give it a class name, and say sbstigan.input. I want to save, okay, and go into my styling file again and get the input results first. Control C and Control V, input results, so we just don't forget about it. And inside of it, we have created that input class name. In the input class name, I'm going to give it a, okay, I'll give it a width of 100%, and I'll give it a height of 100%. And you understand what I'm doing in a second. And I'm going to give it also the color of the text. I want it to be black. And I'm going to give it a border top left radius to 0.5 rams, and border bottom left. So we're dealing with the left of that input, 0.5 rams. Okay. And I'm gonna save. Let's see how far we went. So we have, you can see our search bar, and this is the radius we have created. And just to be able to see it more or better, I'm gonna go to this div, second one. So let's go back again. Search bar container, inside of it is a custom search bar. Inside the custom search bar, we have 2 divs. The first one is input and results, and the second one will change the class name to icon. Okay, because it could be a search or erase or cancel icon. So we'll just give it a general name of icon, or we can say search and cancel icon. It's up to you. So in that div, I'm going to create an image component. Next image component. Before using it, so I don't forget, I'll go to the top and import that component. Import image from next image, from this module right here. And inside that image, I'll give it a source. And I already in my public folder, I have a search icon, that PNG, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. Search icon.png. And just so it don't throw any errors, I'm going to give it a width of 100 and height of 100. But in the styling file, I'm going to target the icon class and give it a specific width of 42 pixels and a height of 42 pixels. I'll give it a background color of, just give it a black. And I'm going to give it a border top, this time right, radius to 0.5 rem, and a border bottom right, radius to 0.5 rem. So if I save this right now, I go check it up, images missing, source property. Okay, we didn't save this file here, so we saved that file, both files always. Fail to parse source search icon down on next image. If using relative image, it must start with a leading slash. So yes, we didn't access the public folder by typing a slash right there before the icon. So if I check it up, you can see my icon. You can see that I have only a radius from the right side, and my input have a radius from the left side. So let's just go back to input and just take off that outline and say none, and the border itself and say none as well, just to be on the safe side. Save. And okay, also, just not to be able to see that text from literally the side, let's give it a padding as well. Padding left of 0.4 rems. And save, and it's looking pretty good. So if I type something inside of it, it's looking good until we do later some more styling. For the icon, it's looking a little bit big, so I'm gonna inside that div give it a padding of 0.6 rem and see how it's gonna behave. It's too small. I'm gonna cut that back to 0.4 rem, see how it's gonna behave. It's looking pretty good. I'll just get it 2.2. And that looks good. So now let's see how we can make that a little bit bigger. So we didn't target, we have created again a search bar container. We targeted that, we have styled it. Inside of it, there is a custom search bar, which we gave it only display of inline flex. And inside that custom search bar, we have two divs. One is the icon. We have styled the icon in here. And one is the input and results. We haven't touched that. And the input that is contained inside, we have styled it. So why did we put this input inside the div instead of just putting it literally just right there? Is because under this input, I'm going to have a div and give it a class name of svst dot results. Okay, and close that div. Inside that div, I'm gonna say as a placeholder 0 results found. Okay. That's why our class name that wraps both the inputs and this div we have created is called input and results, as it's going to have an input and a results div that's we're going to show the results later when we have some filtering operations going on with our API, and we're going to emulate some products and do some searches right there. For now, you don't have to worry about it. Everything is going to be working correctly after you finish this series as promised. And let's save this file, go back in here, and this in the input and results class name that wraps both my input and this div we have created, I'm going to give it a position of relative. Okay, and I'm going to go and target my results results class name, which is inside this input and results, and it have as a placeholder 0 results found. Inside that results, or in that class name, in the styling file, I'm going to give it a position now of absolute. So when you give it a position of absolute, which is this div right here, it's going to look for the closest parent, in this case, this input and results. Or if you gave the relative to, for example, to the custom search bar, it's going to be controlled by that custom search bar. So I'll explain what I mean in a minute if you never worked with absolute position and relative positions before. So in here, like I said, the simple explanation is in the result, as I gave it a position of absolute, it's going to look for the closest parent that contain a position of relative. So it will find this input and results. And if we, for example, say be on the top of 0 of your relative parent, which is the input and result, and if I save everything right now, before that in the result, let me give it a background color of something. Let's just give it a black as well, and a width of 100% of the relative parent, which is, you can see that it goes to the top of the input and takes 100% of that input, which is the custom search bar. So now I can say top of 0 instead of top of 0. I can say bottom of 0. See how it's going to behave if I save. You can see that it jumps to the bottom of our custom search bar, not to the bottom of our input as we want it to behave. So how we can fix that? Let's see. Okay, position of relative. Let's first make this wide a little bit. So I'm gonna go to my input right here. I have 100% width. I'm gonna change the 100% of its parent to 60 v width of the whole page. So it was taking 100% of the parent contained in it. Now I'm gonna change it to take 60 of the whole page width, no matter how the page width was. So if I save my file and go back, you can see that it grows as well. In my results, I'm gonna also give a color, and we'll fix that little problem that you see right there. It's not a big deal. We'll give it a color of white to the text. And did we give it some padding yet? Not in. We'll give it a padding of 0.4 rem. And if I save it, you can see my results shows up right there. You can play a little bit with your some styling. For example, change the font weight to a bold font weight and the font size to, for example, a smaller value. And you can see it right there. So now we want to fix that little problem, which is the bottom of 0. So why is that happening? And let's go debug that. So inside my input and result class name, which is the div, I have a position, or itself, it has a position of relative. Okay. And my results, which is inside of it, have a position of absolute. Where is it? The result? Yeah, I have a position of absolute. So let's try something. Let's get it back to the top. Let's see. All right. So it starts from the top. And we can change that like with a precise value to 42 pixel, because we know that this search bar has taken the icon because we gave it 42 and 42. We can just put 42 and it's gonna always remain there. You can see, even if I get the page up, you can see that it's gonna always remain under, directly under my my input. So if I take that top and I specify only the position, no top, no bottom, no right, no left, and save and see how it's going to behave. And you can see that it jumps again to that same without specifying no 42 pixels, nothing. It's going to go as a natural behavior under that. So I don't have to change that. We want to do, let's do a little inspection and choose. I thought we had some errors, but we don't. It was when we loaded the page before. So I'll check this icon right here and go to a small device like an iPhone. And it's looking pretty centered, pretty good. And let's check some other phones, for example, an iPhone 12 Pro. And it's looking pretty good too. But later on, maybe in the next video, we'll have to do some media queries for the top bar, because I have realized, let's look at it. If we click on our menu, it's too small for a screen of a small device. So we'll have to do some media queries when the width of the screen is small. For example, we want this main menu to be 75 instead of 25%, as we have made it in the last video. Also for the cart menu and also for the language and register, you can see that we have problems in here, but we're gonna have fix it to be responsive to all devices and all dimensions. So you can see that in bigger screens or wider screens, it's behaving better, but we'll have to do some media queries to fix the smaller devices. But for my search bar, it's looking pretty good. So what else is, later on, when we start creating, like we said, we'll have some emulate some products and do some search filtering on them. And we'll be finishing this search bar to be dynamic, and we'll be creating a perfect search bar that you're gonna love. It's gonna have validation, everything is gonna be perfect. But for now, you can see this little, because we gave that input a border. But when I want my results to be, for now, let's just take that result, okay, and say position absolute and give it a top, for example, of minus 100%. There's other solutions. This is one of the simplest one. If I do that, you can see that it now go, actually, let's do minus 100, view it and save. And you cannot see it on the screen. And let's, when we start, like I said, working on our search bar, we'll dynamically, once, for example, in my input right here, the simple solution is give it an on change event, and we'll be fixing that. So whenever the value inside of it changes, we want to open or get back that results div we have created, and we're going to display the results inside of it and filter it. For example, if you have a million products, let's start with G, you don't want to keep scrolling till forever. We want to limit our search items to, for example, I know if YouTube have 14. When you go to YouTube and do a search in the desktop, you'll see if you start typing, you'll get 14 results, and then it starts filtering from there. If there's less results on your the words you're entering, it's gonna go less until, if it finds nothing, tells you 0 results, and we be creating the same behavior and functionalities, and it's gonna be great. Hopefully you'll be able to follow that course with us till the end. And for now, we have created this basic search bar. It's looking pretty good. We'll add later some the hovering effect and more stuff to it. But for now, we'll be satisfied with our basic structure for it, and we can go back, or we can go ahead and create some carousel in here that's going to be sliding, and we'll create some cards in here, and we'll not copy but be inspired by the wayfair.com, as they have a beautiful design of their homepage for an e-commerce platform. We can check that up. You can see that they have a top bar. You can see that they have some I call that an items bar, and we'll be creating that if you like to have the some navigation in here, also with the menu. You can see what I was talking about when I said the slider. So we'll be creating or inspired by this design. They have a slider and they have some cards over it, and there's some beautiful hovering effects, and they have some cards under it, and it is responsive. As you see, if I change the width of the screen, it's gonna now be a scrollable slider from that side right there. And they have a shop by department and will be inspired by many websites. We're not gonna copy them, of course, but that's what we'll be creating in the next video. And then we'll jump back to our functionalities little by little whenever we need it. For now, we don't need to route anywhere. That's why we said we'll create the main menu in the next video. And we have no search products to search. For now, we do not have or want to specify any language yet. The register form, the validation should be later. Whenever you're ready to buy the product, we'll fix that. And for the cart menu, until we fix some products. So the structure or the process is going to be as this. We'll create a beautiful slider right here. We create some cards and some departments or categories. And then we'll create some 2 or 3 sections. For example, top rated, best or best reviewed, and for example, shop by price. And we'll, like I said, emulate some products that comes from an API. In our API right here, we'll give some JSONs in here, work them as products until we later create our own database that's going to be populated with our own product. And we create another app with Node.js and Express.js, which is a server that we're going to use a REST API, but that's going to be later on the Serie. Like I said, hopefully you'll follow it all with us, as it's going to be rich of information and very helpful to you. So for now, I guess let's see each other in the next video.